doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're live with Sunday Comics. We're going to do, by popular demand, X-Men Days of Future Past. This is one of the most, I think, lasting, important comics of all X-Men history. Look at this cover. This cover has been recreated, copied, parodied, spoofed, homaged, whatever you want to call it, over and over and over again. I think there's been a Amazing Fantasy 15, Fantastic Four #1, Action Comics #1, and then Uncanny X-Men 141, which have been to me the most parodied covered. Oh, let's add Dark Knight Returns. That's also a cover that's been copied millions and millions of times. Look at this cover. To the point I'm kind of sick of seeing it. It's been done. Just wonderful. John Byrne, Terry Austin artwork. Look at that cover. And look how cool Wolverine looks. That is the coolest looking Wolverine of all. And who's that? That's an adult Kitty Pryde. Now, keep in mind, Kitty Pryde was a new character at this point. Brand new character. And I think Kitty Pryde was like Chris Claremont's new favorite toy. She was like super important, super cool. And she was the first new X-Men since 94, 95 to be introduced onto the team. And full disclosure, I hated her at first. Oh my God, did I hate her. I don't know what it was. I must have been like an old man as a little kid, because like I didn't like change as I drink my Tim Hortons coffee. Nice Sunday. Oh, happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter. So I'll be surprised if anybody shows up. I got a thumbs up ready. Thumbs up, I guess I assume I sound okay? Video's okay? So happy Easter, everybody. I slept in just a little bit too long. I was up all night taking care of some business, as I always do, because I'm a freak. I don't know what. I stay up way too late whenever I have off. Weekends, I'm up way too late. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, let's get back to this. So like I said, I didn't like change. And when Kitty Pryde was introduced to the X-Men, I don't know why it irrationally bothered me, which is stupid. She turned out to be a great fit, for a great character. But even though I didn't like her, I take that back. I liked her, but I thought that she was better for the New Mutants. The New Mutants was going, and I was like, why isn't she a New Mutant? Well, the New Mutants didn't start yet. So when they brought in the New Mutants, I was like, oh, they're going to bring Kitty Pryde, put her into the New Mutants because she's a little kid. And of course they never did. They talked about it a few times. They talked about it in the comics itself, but they never brought her into the New Mutants. And like I said, I thought that they should have. But what I did like about Kitty Pryde was that they tried to go like a normal person route with her. Like, she was like a real teenager. She was what, like 13, 14 years old. They didn't give her the big old boobalicious body. She was skinny. She was Jewish, which was a big deal at the time. Comic book characters being Jewish. Geez, I'm trying to think who. I mean, we all knew Ben Grimm was, but other than that, but we all knew Ben Grimm was because Ben Grimm was based on Jack Kirby, but it was never really stated. I think it was later on that John Byrne made Ben Grimm officially Jewish. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, let's get back to this. This, first off, wonderful cover back. Look how beat up my comic is. I got this off the stands, and I read it and read it and read it and reread it over and over and over again. I mean, you'll see why. Is there anybody among us that hasn't read this already? This is just such good. I love the autograph over here. All right, so enough looking at this cover. I was kind of stalling for people, but you know what? I look at it. I don't think people are going to come in on Easter. Oh, Michael Williams is here. Just as I said, I didn't think anybody was going to show up. How you doing, Mike? Everything sound good? Everything look good? We looking at OJ over here. Look at this ad. The Dingo Kids meet OJ Simpsons. It's OJ Simpson breaking off tackle. He's at the 40-30. He's going all the way down to the touchdown. Just hope he doesn't make it to the what is it, the Cabana Boys house, Pool Boys house. Wow, OJ Simpson, let's get his autograph. A superstar like him wouldn't notice us. Hey, if the dingoes fit, we could acquit. Look at that. OJ Simpson. Dingoes. You had a pair? You had a pair of dingoes. I just realized what you said. I'm still not fully awake yet. I don't think I've ever had a pair of dingoes. All right, the Uncanny X-Men. Let's do as I normally. Oh, let's start with the indicia. Okay, let's get that out of the way. X-Men Volume 1, number 141, January 1981. I really like how around now they started they don't mess around. They put the month and the year right at the front, so I don't have to keep hurting my weak little eyes. So Kitty Pride Kitty Pride only debuted a few issues before this, and I showcased at the end of this. They did that wonderful comic, I think one of the greatest comics of all time, of when Kitty Pride fights that demon alone. It's kind of like an homage to Alien. I said it. I said, and 100 times. 100 times. I said it over 100 times. That Happy Easter, Bucky. And no, I have not seen the X-Men animated adaptation. Believe it or not, I don't watch the cartoons that much. I watched a little bit of Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but I'm bad that way. I read my comics, and whenever I've said this a few times, and this sounds snobby, and I don't mean it to be snobby, but whenever I got time to watch TV, I read comics because I just got too many comics to read. So that I, as much as I'm a comic book freak, and I'm sure you could all see, I don't have to say anything to prove that I'm a comic book freak. I don't really watch the other medias, the cartoons, the whatever. Even well, I used to slavishly watch all the MCU stuff, and then lately I've fallen off the wagon with that. I'm just not enjoying it like I used to, and I got too many comics that I got to read. So I don't. How's that for a long answer to a short question? So anyway, let's look at the credits over here. We got Chris Claremont, co-writer, co-plotters, artist. So Chris Claremont, John Byrne are both working together to give us the story. So I don't know, I wasn't there, but I could only imagine like a telephone conversation hashing out the plot between two geniuses. And how many times do I have to say John Byrne is him and George Perez are my two favorite superhero comic book artists. Somebody was like, "Hey, I thought you said John Byrne was your favorite or George Byrne." You know, Mainstream. I gotta go. The dogs run. Okay, you too. Merry Christmas. What the hell's wrong with my brain? Happy Easter, Bucky. They're my two favorite mainstream superhero comic book artists. There's I will say like Will Eisner is one of my favorites and things like that. People that is escaping me right now, but Terry Austin is my favorite inker, and Terry Austin is he will make your artwork look better. And for those of you who don't know, somebody just asked what's the difference between a colorer and an inker, and I responded, but I'll say this in the video. The colorist, okay, let's look at the colors. Glennis Witt, that's Len Wein's wife, Glennis Witt. She's a phenomenal colorist, one of my favorite colorists. Let's go down the credits. Tom Unpronounceable is a letterer. He puts the words. He's the one. I don't know if he typed or if he hand wrote. I don't know how they did it back then. Glen Wein, she puts the colors in here. So when Glen Wein gets this page, it's a black and white page. And what she does is like a coloring book. She takes her crayons, and not really crayons. Orzechowski, please. Oh, that's how you pronounce it? Orzechowski? Orzechowski. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. But I butcher just simple English. Orzechowski. Oh, okay, thank you. So Glennis Wynn will get this page. It'll be black and white. And what she does is, at this point, oh, you're guessing. Okay, I took your word for it. She fills in, the black and white with all the colors. And at this point, I think it was like markers or pen and ink. I don't know exactly which particular tool they use because it changed a few times. Louise Jones was the editor, and this is before she became Louise Simonson. Louise Simonson took the X-Men. Keep in mind, at this point, there was only one X-Men comic book. She was the editor. She was the boss because, everybody says there's no women in comic books, because these people just got into comic books when it was cool and don't know the past. But Louise Simonson, as she becomes known, she marries Walt Simonson, the amazing artist and also writer. And for the rest of her life and career, they're still married. She becomes Louise Simonson. She took the X-Men from a one comic monthly to like a franchise, to the height of its popularity. Phenomenal woman. And speaking of phenomenal people, is Jim Shooter. I always say that he's my favorite artist, editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. I think Marvel Comics reached its high point under his tenure. And I know people are like, "What about Stan Lee?" Yeah, yes, you're exactly right. Stan Lee. Stan Lee started it all. He kicked the ball, and then Jim Shooter just added to its momentum, and everybody else has been following the works of Jim Shooter and Stan Lee. And I know not a lot of people like Jim Shooter because he was a tyrant. I wasn't there. I was a kid enjoying his wonderful work. So there you go. But let's get back to the inker. Now, John Byrne would write in pencil, draw in pencil, excuse me. He would draw in pencil. So a penciled page, all white, in pencils, would be given to Terry Austin. Terry Austin would take a pen and ink and go over his lines. If you've seen what is it, Mallrats, the Kevin Smith movie, they called the inker the tracer, you know. And yeah, he does trace over, but there's a whole bunch of lines. If you've seen a penciled work, it's like sketchy. There's lines. You know, the artist doesn't just do. So which line do you follow? Which line do you enhance? Which line do you make better? What do you make darker? What do you make? What do you leave alone? That's all important decisions. And then, like, you see these lines, these fill in black lines, the inker will fill that in. So that, at the risk of pointing out her boobs over here, this is all flat. And then the inker will fill in the shading. It'll give the 3D illusion of like, a rise over here, the depth over here, fill in the to make this sign look like it's sticking out. Somebody, and I'm not mentioning names because I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings, sent me a comic book, and it was black and white, and it wasn't inked. It was, it was flat inks, meaning they just went over the line that delineated the figure, and it looked flat. So the figure in the forefront almost looked like there was no differentiation between the wall. I couldn't tell like what, it was one flat dimension, and it was hard to tell like what everything was. So inker does a great important job, and a great inker will enhance your artwork or destroy your artwork. Or like, well, not a great ink. A bad inker will destroy your work. I figure you all know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to get my brain going. Somebody goofed and said, "Oh, look, you had a commercial for Tim Hortons," and I was like, my whole life is a commercial for Tim Hortons. If I don't have Tim Hortons coffee in my house, I'm panicky. So yeah. So here we have. Just look at this splash page. It's just setting up everything. We got the Chrysler Building over here. My Chrysler Building's my favorite building in Manhattan. The Empire State Building's cool, but the Chrysler Building is just so much classier. I don't know what it is, but the Chrysler Building with that Art Deco look is just a cool building. So we're establishing it's Manhattan. It's Manhattan like destroyed, and because Days of Future Past, that they'll let you know in the title that this is set in the future, and I just love it. But who is this? We don't really know. Does it tell you in the? Well, it says right here. This is the New York to Big Al. Once upon a time, it was a nice place. No longer. Even at this point, it was a start. It was getting better, but it wasn't. What did she got? She got medicine. We already know that she's a good guy. Carried medicine through this bad area. It looks like Escape from New York. And believe me, I've said this before, and I got cut off saying hello to people, and my brain isn't quick anymore. Chris Claremont wears his inspirations on his sleeves, and that's not a bad thing. Like when Chris Claremont, like everybody became a witch. I don't know what he must have been reading, the Mayfair Witches or something like that. Then at one point everybody became a vampire. So like he must have been reading a lot of Anne Rice. Then that Kitty Pryde issue that I already showcased with the Nagari demon, that's totally Alien and Aliens, and this I firmly believe is Escape from New York. This is Escape from New York. It even looks like that when Kurt Russell was it's inside the, what was it, the chock full of nuts coffee place. This is Escape from New York. So you can tell what Chris Claremont watched last night on TV before these comics come out. And you know what? Who he makes. Yeah, you see what I mean? Okay, I got somebody who doesn't think I'm crazy. Well, maybe you do think I'm crazy. So let's look at the next page. So now we're like, oh, okay, this is a Kitty Pryde, but she's going by Catherine Pryde. You see, look, this is Escape from New York. I just love these pages. I love it. And this doesn't make any sense because we already saw that she was in Manhattan down the street. There's buildings, but we got blue sky. It works. Coloring. We don't. This is the kind of thing. John Byrne and Terry Austin, they do a nice close up on the face. So we're looking at the face. We don't care about the backgrounds for it. Saves some time someplace else. Whatever. And she's I just love this. The floor cracks open. She comes rolling down. And notice, that we already established the skies here. Now we establish. Why do we do that? To keep the panels separate. If all the backgrounds. Hello, Jeff. Hey, how you doing, Jeff? If all the panels had the same background color, they would all mush together. Does it have a nobody draws until the can hits the ground moment? It probably does. Chris Claremont kind of rips off not again. I don't want to say rip off because I don't want to. I love this. She falls down, and we get this guy. I love this panel. Here there. This is the scene like in the coffee shop in Escape from New York. You know what I mean? A little showdown in the. Inside the storefront in futuristic Manhattan, and she just beats the crap out of this guy. We're establishing that she can handle herself, and this guy's like kill her. And then we got look at that, what an entrance, so cinematic. So here's Kurt Russell as Wolverine over here. I love this guy. Pulls out this nasty looking knife, and he just beats the crap out of them all. Wolverine's back in town. And helping her out. Kate. So, establishing that she's Kate, garbage all over the place. He's the last component of the jammer. Here comes the magical science, guys. The magical science is about to enter the picture. And he's going off. And she's like, thanks a lot. We'll be waiting, Logan, and thanks. We got the Fun Factory ad over here. Look at that. I love this ad. Did anybody, I asked a few times, nobody responded. Did anybody get anything from this? I never did. I always wanted what is it? The spud gun. I always wanted the spud gun. I thought it was funny you put like a potato in the handle and it chops off a piece of potato and shoots it. That's hilarious. I still want a spud gun. All right, so now we get back to look at this. You got the Penn telescope. Okay, did it work? Was it a piece of crap? Was it something that actually, was it worth the money? So look, now we're talking about the coloring. Look at the chintzy coloring over here. And I love this. The horse is pulling the bus. Look, it's all yellow and blue. Why? I don't know. That works. That's just old-fashioned flat coloring. Your brain just accepts it and moves on. I would have liked more coloring in there, but whatever. That's the way it works. And then look at this coloring. It was cheap. So believe it or not, the Fun Factory stuff was cheap. So here we got people inside the bus. Now, what's good. They're explaining that the pure strain humans, how's that for a Gamma World reference? The pure strain humans, as my chair falls down, I hate, I got to fix this chair. They got H's labeled on them. They're allowed to breed. They don't have any genetic anomalies in them. So they can do the lovey-doveys and make offspring. She's got an M on her, meaning she's a mutant. She's forbidden to breed. And if as you can see, she's got a collar around her neck that prevents her from using her mutant abilities. And then I always remember this guy. This guy's got an A on him. And what does A mean? That he's human, but he has the potential to have mutant offspring. So he's forbidden to breed. A for anomalous human, a normal human possessing. So poor guy he's not an incel. I guess he is an incel, right? Involuntary celibacy, or you could do other things, I guess. And here she is bringing her medicine. She got the M, passing the Sentinel, and I like. This is, to me, my favorite version of the Sentinels. They're big, they're foreboding, they're scary, but they're not unbeatable. Power creep happens, meaning like everybody gets more and more powerful. The threat gets worse and worse. Like Doctor Who is the most egregious example of power creep. Every companion has to top the last companion, and like you can't just be like, I'm tired. I kind of don't want to do this anymore. Like Amy Pond, who's just like, I'm getting old now. It's time to settle down. We want to have some kids. Unfortunately, that's not what happened, but that's what she wanted to do. That was supposed to be her exit. To the point where we got the other one who's like, gets killed but goes back in time and travels in and, saves the universe. Knock it off. It's like, the companions always have to top each other. The threat has to top each other. The universe is, same thing with the Sentinels. They started out, they were big, scary robots. They were tough, but you could handle them. They gave you a threat, and then every time they showed up, they got more and more powerful. And I can understand that they get redesigned to be better and better and better, to the point now, like, they're just like mass produced by like the master mold. Is that what it's called? And the it just like makes these unbeatable godlike things. And I think, I don't know, make them big, make them tough, but you don't have to up the scale every time you show the Sentinels. The Sentinels are supposed to, like, 3 or 4 Sentinels are supposed to give like the core X-Men a rough time. That's it. They're not supposed to be like, they have to come up with some like super scheme in order to beat them. I don't know. It just like becomes too much. But anyway, I'm ranting and raving. So I love this. This is just setting up the stakes. She's walking by the graveyard of all the super characters. So anybody with super abilities was exterminated, because that's what the Sentinels decided. So look at this. We got my buddy Ben Grimm. Tell me that. What's that? Johnny Storm, Charles Xavier. Sentinel Borgs. Yeah, they kind of did it with the Borgs. To me, the Borgs were the scariest. Like, just like the Cybermen and Doctor Who, they didn't speak. They had no personalities. They were like supposed to be like the collectivist. They are the collectivist extreme, the Borg, the Cybermen. No personality, no individuality, no leaders, because they just have like this group internet between them all to connect them all, so everyone has the knowledge of everybody in the race, and no personality. I thought that was the scariest being. As soon as one Borg, as soon as one Cyberman learned something, the entire race, resistance is futile. I thought that was such a brilliant. And then they introduced the Borg Queen and took away all the scariness, the unfathomable planning, the group consciousness. I thought the Borg Queen, I thought Locutus was a bad idea. Like, what's his name? Picard should have just brought into the Borg and just became just another drone. And every Borg would have gotten Picard's information. How scary is that? They created this race, same Doctor Who with the Cybermen, and like they did the same thing with the Weeping Angels. They created the Weeping Angels, and then they immediately took away what made them unique and scary. The Borg should have been, they should never have been an individual Borg. For there to be an individual Borg, you're missing the point of your own creation. And I know they did it so that we, the people, could interact and talk with them, and a little bit of drama. But and it was cool. It was a dramatic story. Everybody talks about it, but like, it defeats the purpose of the Borg. I don't know. I believe, like, if keep what keeps that race unique. I don't know. I'm crazy. Who am I to argue with the people who made Locutus a Borg? But I will, because I'm that kind of crazy. But anyway, and that's what the Sentinels should have been. No personnel. Like there never should have been Nimrod. The Sentinel champion or whatever. They should just be Sentinels. They're all unique. I mean, they all look the same. I could see like Sentinels Mark III with different colors or whatever like that, but they're squads. They're not individuals. That's the whole point of them. Is they are the collectivist idea of repression of individuality, and that's what the X-Men are supposed to represent. Okay, here's some me being ultra nerdy over here. The X-Men. Everybody's like, oh, the X-Men are an allegory for civil rights. The X-Men are an allegory for gays. The X-Men are an allegory for Yes, they're all true, to quote Han Solo. They're all true. The X-Men are the outcasts. The X-Men are the other. That's what the X stands for. The X is unknown. Okay? They are the unknown men. Back in the sexist days of using men instead of people and folks or whatever. But, the X-Men represents... They could have been called the question mark men. We don't know what the X is. You fill in the blank. Do you feel like an outcast because you like comic books? You're the X-Men. Do you feel like an outcast because you're transgender? You're the X-Men. Do you feel like an outcast because you're fat? You're the X-Men. Do you feel like an outcast because girls don't like you because you play Dungeons and Dragons? You're the X. That's what the X-Men is. You know what I mean? They never specifically stated what the X is, because the X is randomness. The Sentinels are supposed to be the authority, the powers that be, the collectivists, the group. Whatever group the X-Men are, the Sentinels are the control group, the other group. You know what I mean? That's what the Sentinels are supposed to be. They're not supposed to have individuals. They're not supposed to have champions and heroes of the Sentinels. They're supposed to just be whatever group you don't belong in. That's what they are. They're the other group. You're the geeky guy who can't play sports. These are the jocks. You're the guy who likes Dungeons and Dragons. These are the people that make fun of the Dungeons and Dragons. So they're the nerds. Does that make sense? That's what the Sentinel is supposed to be. So I don't know. I'm pontificating, but that's why I don't like the idea of like Nimrod. Even though that was Chris Claremont, who am I to argue with Chris Claremont? But that I'm crazy. Look, we got Scott Summers. So they're establishing who's dead. Warren Worthington over here. Who do we got there? Oh, Reed Richards. You got to get rid of the big guns. You know what I mean? They can't smart their way out of this. So we're setting up the stakes. I'm Jontificating. Yeah. And I love it's set in the darkness. Look at the background over here. It's just, nothing is bright anymore. And here are the surviving X-Men. And note, you can see the collar. And I'm like, I remember as a kid looking at this, I saw that. I'm like, Reed Richards is dead. Oh yeah, that's Colossus. Now, which brings to mind one of John Byrne's weaknesses that even he will address, that every male has the same face. Every female has basically the same face. I mean, you can see that Storm has a different face, but that's the eyebrows and the big eyes. But put blonde hair on that. That's Sue Storm. That's John Byrne's biggest weakness is the faces. And then you just said Charles Xavier it's Magneto. It's Magneto. And who's that? That's Franklin Richards. The Reed and Sue's kid. And that's Rachel Summers. And I was excited to see this at the time, and this is one of the greatest X-Men comics, and this is one of my most infuriating kind of like knock it off already X-Men comics. I'm not going to say like it bothers me. I'm not going to say it because it was a great 2-issue story, but what are Franklin Richards' powers? What do you want them to be? There you go. How's that for an answer? Franklin Richards' powers are whatever the plot requires. He's like I've always hated that the invincible child. Well, he is the invincible child. He has the ultimate powers. In what was it? Earth X by I always forget the writer's name, which is a shame. But I always remember Alex Ross. But Jim Kruger, I want to say. They wrote the future of Marvel Comics, and they said that Franklin Richards was a Celestial. He grows up and becomes one of the Celestials. That's how powerful he is. That intelligent races, after a while, they will their purpose of intelligent race is to produce like one Celestial. So the one of the Celestials is a Skrull one, and that's what he is. He grows up and evolves. He's so powerful. But that those Universe X stories, are they canon? A term that I used to love that now is driving me crazy. So does that answer your question? And who's this? This is Rachel Summers. This is the first appearance of Rachel Summers. Who is she? She's the daughter of Jean Grey and Scott Summers. In the future. So she is an offspring. She doesn't exist in the normal Marvel timeline at this point. And that's Catherine Pryde. She doesn't go by Kitty anymore. And her and Colossus are together. Look, you see what I'm talking about? That's Reed Richards' face. But when you're as talented as John Byrne, you could forgive his little not foibles, weaknesses. You look at the sky over here. We don't need no blue sky. They're Hi, how you doing, Wardu? Good to see you. Hello. And this I do like. This is I don't know if Chris Claremont planned it, but this is all the X-Men are supposed to be unique individuals, the other. And what do? They give them a uniform. They all dress the same. They all look the same. So like they're trying their best to they reduce their powers to nothing, and then they're reducing their individuality to nothing by uniforms. Yeah, I know that's like kind of hypocritical because the X-Men had originally their the black and yellow. But I look at that as like military training. You break them down and you turn them into a cohesive team. And then once they become a cohesive team, they can express their individuality. I look at that as military training. But I don't know. So here's the magical science device. And what are they going to do? They figure out how to like jam these restraining collars. And they put her into magic trance. and send her back into the astral plane, which is another way of saying we don't know what it is. It sounds cool. We're going to send you back in time. So now look at that splash page. Look at that splash page. That is just classic X-Men. I love it. Can you beat that Storm costume? Nobody draws Storm better than John Byrne. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old fogey. Maybe whatever. But cup of coffee over here. Nobody draws Storm better. Even Angel, a character that I never particularly liked. He looks cool when John Byrne draws him. Wolverine over here. Look at that. Look at the robot. I look. I kind of laugh at myself when I do that. Colossus over here being cool, being powerful. The splash, yes, a splash page just means a one-panel page. The splash page doesn't mean the first page. Usually, the first page is a splash page, but it doesn't have to be. And a splash page is just one panel on one page. It's called a splash page. So yes, you could have a splash page deep into the comic. Look at the rays over here. So this is the Danger Room, and I always laugh at the Danger Room because like whenever the X-Men or go into the Danger Room, you just know it's gonna go berserk. It's gonna mishap. It's fire. It's like the holodeck on the Next Generation. Anytime anybody goes into the holodeck, you see the guy putting on his beach shorts and a towel and putting the suntan lotion on. I'm going into the holodeck. Next thing you know, he's fighting dragons and monsters, and it's just like it never works. Holodeck technology should almost be banned in Starfleet because it causes more problems. Kitty's like 12. She's like she's I think 13 or 14. They gave a specific age, but I kind of forget. So she's like we'll say lower teens because I don't remember the exact age. So she just comes walking in, and Warren Worthington over here, the Angel, is like, Kitty, get the hell out of here. Wolverine's like, I can't, So because she walks in, she's targeted, but she's new to the team. What does she have? Like 3 issues in of total appearances so far. So she's not skilled yet. He almost got clawed by yes, in the vampire issue. So there you go. Okay. The darts are coming after her. Storm. Look at that. Storm puts like a little mini tornado to get her out of the way. Colossus is like, oh God, like keep in mind, Colossus is 19. They specifically said that Colossus is 19, and you forget because how big he is, and because he grew up on a farm. He's pretty mature for his age, So you take him to be bigger, but he's supposed to be 19 years old, and she's 14 years old, and she has a thing for Colossus, which I find totally normal. And Colossus, whatever, is it creepy? He kind of has feelings for her, but he's a good guy. He doesn't do anything until later on. So she's like goo gaga over Colossus, and Colossus is a good guy. I really like Colossus. So they're about to get crushed by this, and Nightcrawler just teleports in and turns it off. Great group shot over here. The Superhero Prize Club. Earn valuable prizes and cash in the Superhero Prize Club. I've seen this ad a million times, and I've never really paid attention to it. So here he is talking to her, and I love this. She's famously off-put by his appearance, and I think that is so realistic. She's just a normal girl who she finds out she's a mutant. At this point, her mutant power is only activated like weeks ago. I'll say weeks ago at this time because Marvel time is funny. So she was just a normal suburban. I think Westchester. I forget where, but she was just like a suburban outside of New York City girl, young girl. She's going through puberty, and then she finds out that she's mutant, and now she's on a team with this guy. The first appearance was 129. Yes. So I a little over a year in real time, but you know how comic book time is funny. So she's every time she sees him, look at her body language. She gets like a little uncomfortable, and she says that she goes, "He's so nice to me, but I can't believe that I flinch. I can't believe that I freak out." And then he says, "It shouldn't bother me, but it does because he Nightcrawler was like a." I always say he's the Pinocchio. Like the term I made up. He just wants to be a real boy. He wants to fit in. He's got the soul. he's very religious, in the best sense of the word. Like he's not like the fire and brimstone that the comic books always like. You're gonna go to hell because you don't listen to me. Like he is like if everybody was religious in the way Kurt Russell, yeah, Kurt Wagner was religious, the world would be a beautiful place. He epitomizes like the best parts of religion. He's a good guy. He's loving. He's kind. He suffered the slings of arrows, but it doesn't ruin his outlook on everything. I really do like the individuality and the in the individuality and I can't even think the individuality of every X-Men at this point. They're doing a really good job, and she feels bad for freaking out whenever, and it hurts him, but he's not going to let it ruin. You know, he wants to be friends with her. So now they're putting her into her first Danger Room session. So she closes her eyes and she turns on her phasing ability. At this point, the only power that she had was to unsolid. Nightcrawler is a cool character. Yes, he is. Oh, Bush Pandown's here. Nightcrawler, at this point, picking your favorite X-Men is tough because they're all such wonderfully fleshed out individuals. They are so good. They have hated the Mohawk. Yes. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna agree with you there. Because she was so cool looking. Danger Room sessions are always fun. Yeah. I what was I about to say? I'm gonna use a word that I hate, and I can't believe how often I'm using this word, but this Storm look is iconic. When I say something is iconic, I mean that it becomes like known to everybody. Like Superman is iconic. You could go to Nigeria and say Superman, and people know what Superman looks like. This is what Storm looks, and then they changed it to the Mohawk look, and I probably catch hell for saying this, but it's like when they put Spider-Man in the black costume. You don't change that costume. You don't change. And you know what, they do that. They do that with comic book characters. They change them up just for shock value or to like shake dust off a character. But you knew Storm was coming back to this look. But this is the way Storm looked. This is the way the X-Men look to me. She has she has her uniform, so she doesn't have her iconic look. All right, so she's in the Danger Room. She turns on her phasing ability, and what she's got to do, she's got to walk across the room and push the button. So she closes her eyes. They're making a point to show that it's. You stop reading X-Men not long after the X-Men. Me too, Michael. I'll go into that probably. Remind me, and I'll go into that later. So she phases through everything. She's walking on air, which always made me wonder, like, how does she not fall through the ground? But it's definitely some sort of mental concentration. She believes she should be on this level, so she doesn't. She can control almost like levitation. Brown or yellow costume for Wolverine. That's tough. I like them both. I don't really pick. But I will say, Wolverine better be in one of those two costumes. He better be in the brown and yellow, the brown or the yellow and black. When they finally do, because I heard he's going to be in costume in the Deadpool movie, and I like this, crushing her with this, and she phases through, and they're all laughing. Her very first Danger Room session, and she's doing it with her eyes closed. Wolverine thinks it's the funniest thing, And she opens the door, and as soon as she opens, Brown is more practical. Yes, it's more practical because first off, are Wolverines brown, like real, like he's kind of like the color of the animal, and to be stealthy ninja guy, it is more practical. The yellow costume is more superhero-y. I don't know. I'm not gonna. Both costumes, I never really thought about which one I like better. I hated the brown one at first because I was an old man, even as a kid. I don't like change. Why change it? But that was John Byrne at that point, John Byrne knew he was leaving, and he wanted to leave his mark on his favorite character. People kind of did that to Bob Layton did that to Hercules. John Byrne also did it to the Fantastic Four. Bob Layton, fixed up Iron Man's armor. Everybody always wants to put their personal stamp on a character, and I don't really mind that if you're doing it out of love, not ego. But I guess they are doing it out of ego. What am I talking about? So she hits the door, and the old whammy dammy dammy gets her. They bring her to the sick bay. They're examining her. What's wrong? I love this. Don't get a real doctor. Don't call Myra McTaggart. Don't call. None of these people have any real medical degrees. and she wakes up and look at that. She's hugging Nightcrawler. You're alive. She's freaking out. And right after I just explained how she's kind of freaked out by Nightcrawler. So right away, they know something's up. And Xavier is conveniently away. Otherwise he could just confirm what's going on. You got to, that's one of the things about having all of these all powerful, like mental telepaths and magicians, stuff like that, is you have to explain why they can't just hand wave it. So Xavier is away on a mission and she's explaining everything. I always pictured it was kind of like Dorothy, and you're there too, Dorothy and the Tin Man. So she's looking at them all. I can't believe you're all here. I'm from the future. And they're just like, they kind of believe her right away, much to their credit. Did you see Stranger Things? The first season of Stranger Things was awesome. Was just an awesome series. The second season was all right, and then the third season I didn't particularly like too much. But then it ended well. I like to the point now they do not need another season. But anyway, that's besides this point. One of the things I really liked about Stranger Things was the kids went to Hopper and Winona Ryder, whose character I can't remember her name. Uh, uh, I forget her character's name, but they explained this is what we found out. This is what, and rather than just like blow off the kids, they just were like, really? And Joyce, that's right, Joyce, that, yeah, yes. They just they believed them. They just were like, oh yeah, okay, and they started like listening to the nonsense thing that curly headed hobbit looking kid started explaining, and they like got paper and everything. And I thought that was so realistic, and so cool. That's the same thing going on here. They're like, this always made me laugh. She looks like a kid. She stands like a kid. She moves, smells like a woman. How does she smell like a woman? It's physically the same body. Nothing has changed, but like a mental astral image. But I don't know. That's it's kind of creepy. He does look like a hobbit. Yes, he does. He should be in the Rings of Power next. A show that I don't watch. So now they're flying, and she's explaining the history. So I love this. We got an info dump right here. This is info dump, and normally I'm against info dumps, but this is how you do it. Chris Claremont, John Byrne, they are masters. If you saw my video about Gargoyles, the new one, I did Gargoyles #1 of the new series, and I just called it Info Dump the comic. I just didn't particularly like it, and this is what they do. They set up the story, they set up the stakes. It was a little bit alien enough to be like, what's going on? But you figured it out as you go along, and then right over here, this is the scene in the movie where they tell you all the information. Senator Kelly gets elected. They never tell you whether he's a Republican or a Democrat. And what I like about that is either side can explain. Either side can make a compelling argument why he's not of their party. Why? Because Chris Claremont and John Byrne are masters. They accelerate this Sentinel. I hate Superman with the long shit. Yeah, Superman is supposed to be old-fashioned. Superman is supposed to be the old-fashioned Boy Scout. I agree with you. I never liked Superman with the shaggy mullet, But anyway, Superman is supposed to be of the 40s, and everything old fashioned, Mom America and apple pie. That's but anyway. So the Sentinels, the first thing they do is they go after all the superheroes. Whether you're a mutant, whatever you are a mutant, because it makes sense. Because could Daredevil now pass on his mutant abilities, mutate abilities? Yeah, I don't know if they talk about that anymore in Marvel. But if you were born with powers, you are a mutant. If you get powers later on in life, like Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four, you're a mutate. So they get rid of the mutates and the mutants. And she's like crying, thinking about all the death and destruction, and they're just like, no way they take out Doctor Doom. I know. They just hand wave like. That's Iceman, right? But like, where's this? Look, Ghost Rider. They took out Ghost Rider. You know what I mean? They took out the Hulk. But that's the conceit of the story. And they're just like, holy mackerel. So we got to go back in time. They go back in time, and oh wow, I just thought of something. Is this before or after the Terminator? The first Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator movie. So is this Chris Claremont like he just watched the Terminator and now he's making a movie. Anybody know the date of the first Terminator movie? Wow, I just thought of that. So there you go, Chris. That's a good panel. Which panel? Which panel are we talking about? This one. This is an amazing panel. That is amazing panel. Does anybody have this comic book? I see I got 9 people. Did anybody have this comic book? And or has anybody read it? It's blurry to me? I don't know. Anybody else blurry? Anybody else blurry? What is he? 1984. So this is before the Terminator. Okay, good. Okay, good. So his so why, you know what if the Terminator ripped off this? Wow, cool. I always say give me a good idea and I'll show you the comic book that did it first. So here you go. Before Hollywood. A little blurry. I'm sorry. I don't. Uh, when it posts, it'll be posted in high resolution, like within a couple hours. So they're going through the tunnels over here. They're carrying the unconscious Catherine Pryde. Catherine Pryde is the future. Kitty Pryde is the past. And look, here's Franklin. Got to get rid of Franklin. Boom, just gets destroyed. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Michael Williams says is James Cameron is an X-Men fan. Yeah, what I don't find that to be far fetched because you know you're going to tell me James Cameron didn't grow up reading Fantastic Four. He didn't grow up reading Doctor Strange. That's right. Harlan Ellison predated both. You're absolutely right. To the point where Harlan Ellison sued and got like a credit put onto the Terminator. They had to acknowledge that his time travel story. Yeah, so yeah, you're absolutely right. I forgot about that. So they have to get rid of Franklin. Why? Because Franklin is all powerful on superpower. So he could hand wave this. So before they get the collars removed, he gets vaporized. You have to. And then whoever said this was a great panel, that is absolutely 100% right. Great panel. The only flaw, James Cameron definitely grew up reading Aquaman. Yep. Okay. Yeah. For Avatar, right? He definitely grew up reading Marvel and DC. The only flaw in this panel, like I love the blue for the ubiquitous machinery, the panel, the light over here is I would have liked these guys to be colored a little bit better, but who am I to argue with Glynis Wynn? I love this ad, Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom. We're gonna give you some subscriptions, and then look at so now they got their powers back, and I love that. The Abyss, yeah, that's James Cameron. That's a good one. I love this. I used to call this the John Byrne effect until I got old enough to buy X-Men back issues, and I realized it's the Neil Adams effect. John Byrne is he worships at the altar of Neil Adams, and I think that would that would offend him to say that to his face these days. So don't tell John Byrne I said that. So he's blasted this and just taken about who is that? I can't even tell who that is, but that's Kitty. That's Colossus. Who is that over there? I can't even tell. It's definitely not Franklin. We just saw him get vaporized. Storm's taken out. So these are my favorite kind of Sentinels. They're tough. They're scary. They're badass, but they're being taken out. When you have to come up with like some gold Ruberg invention to take out the Sentinels every time, I mean, it's kind of cool in the short term, but it's just like, I don't know. It just makes like it ups the stakes unnaturally. Look, I like Colossus with the Reed Richards hair over here, and he fastball special. I love this. It almost looks scared. It's so cool. He's got him over here, and then Storm blows him up. So cool. Here comes more, and they're running. Why? Because they're kind of powerful. Colossus just beats the crap out of this building. And are they destroyed? I don't know, but they're stopped right now, and they run, and they're breathing heavy. It was Rachel Summers who did that. Duh, I forgot she was in the comic. And now we're going into the past. We got a Raven Darkholme, which is Mystique. So Mystique is in her normal form, kind of sexy. All the guys are saluting her, and I love this panel. She opens up, transform, and here we have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And I always laughed at the name, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Like, are you really going to call yourself that? Like, the best villains think they're the good guys. So that's one of the few things that the movie did better, was they called them the Brotherhood. That just to me works better. And a few times they they tried to explain why they call themselves the evil mutants, and it just doesn't work. That was like a 1963 kind of black and white kind of thing that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee did, but not everything that they did was perfect. So we got Destiny over here. We got the Sentinels were programmed to fight in sync with each other. They were yes. They were. They had some sort of electronic Borg like. They were the ultimate like fighting team because they not just did they understand teamwork, but they didn't understand not to have teamwork. Their individuality was suppressed. And to me, that's one of the scariest things like about the Borg, about the Cybermen from Doctor Who. And then whenever they do anything that destroys the collectiveness, the Borg is supposed to be the ultimate communist. That's living under communism. You have no individuality. You are, not only like do you not have wants and desires, but like your wants and desires don't matter because it's society. You will be assimilated. And that to me, whereas the Federation was supposed to be individuality and individual enterprise. And then they made Locutus, which to me it was an admission that communism was no good because you still need charismatic individuals. But there you go. I'm pontificating. I'm John-tificating. So this is Destiny, the blind seer. She could see into the future. Avalanche. He could cause matter to like almost ripple like lizards, like Liquid, Pyro, and the Blob. I always thought the Blob was funny. I love the Blob, but at the same time, I kind of think he's funny. At the same time, he's like a goofy bad guy. But I don't know. I love Pyro Man. That scares me. Just a guy shooting fire at you is scary. At this point, now look at the way Mystique looks over here. They were really good episodes when Star Trek was good. Yes. I heard Picard third season is really good. I haven't watched it yet. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. When Next Generation, I'm not deep. Everybody seems to like Deep Space Nine. I watched 2 seasons and I noped out. It's 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine. It was terrible. But everybody says get to the 3rd season, and you know what? The 3rd season of Next Generation, it got good too. So I will power through it. But haven't watched Enterprise. Haven't watched Voyager. But I do like Next Generation, and of course I love the original series. Now look at the way she looks. She's got the same color scheme. She looks like Nightcrawler. They were built, and at this point in Marvel history, they had slow burns. It took like 10 years to reveal that Magneto was a Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's father. With Magda as the mother, and it spawned. It spawned. I think the holodeck was first. The holodeck was first, right? Before the. No. I'm saying the Danger Room was first because the Danger Room debuted in X-Men #1. So Danger Room was first, then the holodeck. But anyway, as I was saying, look at this. Look, they were hinting that was Nightcrawler's mother. They were hinting, and then they went off in a different direction. And John Byrne, or maybe Chris Claremont, I forget which one. They wanted to throw the whammy on us all, and they wanted to make it that she shapeshifted into a male form, and Destiny was Nightcrawler's mother, and she was Nightcrawler's father. But I don't know if Jim Shooter put the kibosh on that, or they changed their minds, or if that never happened and it's a rumor that I heard. But I don't know. I thought it would have been an interesting twist because it would have fit, because they more than hinted that these two were a couple. They more than hinted at it, and at first I thought she was the saber-toothed Wolverine Slowbird. Yeah, exactly. They I don't know, because this was before it was just like my identity defines anything, my sexuality defines it, my skin color. Look at the X-Men. Diverse in the best sense of the word. Everybody, they got different religious beliefs, they got different political beliefs, different skin colors. They're from different parts of the world. I don't care if they were a couple. Because it was more than that. And then she shapeshifts into a man and gets I don't know. That would have been like. That would have been like, as a kid, I would have been like, "Whoa, boy, psych!" And of course they got to display everybody's powers. He controls fire. He makes the matter shatter. Because they're bad guys. They fight and whatever. So what are they doing? They're teaming up to kill Senator Kelly. And again, they never tell you whether he's a Republican. They never tell you that he's a Democrat. They never tell you whether he's a anti-mutant party, which is a new party. They don't tell you. They don't need to tell you, and it's best that they don't, because they make you could make a compelling argument why he's the other guy. And that's all that matters. So he's running on a platform of like, we got to do something about the mutants. And I always bring this up. Back before I did my channel, I used to write stuff on my own forum, villains-and-vigilantesforum.com. You could go there. That's my personal site. It's for my role-playing game. Whenever we play an adventure, I post up the stories, and then we talk. I did a post called "The X-Men Deserve Persecution," and I just from X-Men #1 to X-Men 200, because that's what I was collecting at the time. I stopped collecting around the time I wrote that. How the X-Men create all their problems. They whine and they complain. They just want to be treated like everybody else, but they don't act like everybody else. They act like they're above. To me, the final straw was when the world arrests Magneto, and then the X-Men break into the UN to save Magneto from his own trial, because they're not going to get a fair trial because they're humans and we're mutants, but we just want to be treated like everybody else, except when we're actually being held accountable like everybody else. That was, to me, X-Men 200, the trial of Magneto and the X-Men breaking Magneto free, was like, I can't read this comic book anymore. So, Senator Kelly has a good point. Mutants are causing problems. Magneto, held the world hostage at this point. Let's be realistic. I think if Superman was real, unless you're an evil, twisted person, you don't have a problem with Superman. But that's the thing about Superman, is he's supposed to be like the best, and if you're scared of, if you're writing a story where the common man is scared of Superman, you're not writing a Superman story. You're writing a Homelander story, but the X-Men, they're supposed to be sneaky. They're supposed to be on the outskirts of I almost said reality, but they're supposed to be on the outskirts of society. Like, I'm not going to say the title of the song, but like Patti Smith, rock and roll N-word, outside of society. That's what these are. The X-Men are the rock and roll N-words. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Patti Smith. I'm a big Patti Smith. And I'm not talking Quarter Flash. I'm talking Patti Smith. Her album is named Easter. How weird is that I thought of that? Patti Smith when her on Easter, when her big album. Go listen to Patti Smith Easter. It's a great album. So anyway, Myra McTaggart, I love that. She's a human, but now she's a mutant. But I don't read X-Men now, so whatever. I actually heard Jonathan Hickman. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And Charles Xavier, he's subliminal. There you go, Abrax. The comic book is infecting my mind. All these telepaths. They're having a Senate subcommittee talking about mutants. Okay, and who are the mutants? They are the other. They are the kids who play Dungeons and Dragons. They are the boys who can't get a girlfriend. They are the girls who feel fat and don't fit in. They are the transgenders. They're the gays. They're the Republicans when the Democrats are in control. They're the Democrats when the Republicans are in control. That's what the X-Men is. To specifically define what they are is to remove the X. The X is the unknown, and that's the best. CBG bands are the best. Okay. Oh, television. Okay. Go watch my video about my record collection. I talk a lot about how I used to hang out at CBGB's, the Sunday hardcore matinee, and all that stuff. I'm not old. So anyway, they're having a committee meeting, and he's talking about mutant rights. And at this point, it's not publicly known that Xavier could read minds. So they got to interrupt him and like, we got a problem over here. They know that he's about to be assassinated, and kabooey, the door breaks open, and not Fury Unleashed, not Captain America. Here they come. Look at those great costumes. Look at those great costumes. They've got Destiny, Avalanche, Mystique. Mystique when she, evil and unrepentant and a zealot, just so cool. And they're going to kill Senator Kelly, because if Senator Kelly gets elected, they're going to have the Mutant Registration Act put before Congress. But if he gets killed, there's going to be a backlash and the public is going to turn against it, and then we're going to have Days of Future Past. So I love this. They have to defend somebody that hates them otherwise it's going to get worse. It's brilliant. It's so good, And the X-Men movie got it wrong. The X-Men movie, the first X-Men movie, was so bad. Okay, Spider-Woman, the world's most misunderstood superhero. Yep, she's another one that Marvel didn't know what to do with Spider-Woman for a while. Okay, so I've been talking for an hour. Should I save this for next week or should I continue? It's 11:15. What do you think? Should I save this for next week? Going once, going twice. You know what? Yes, it's an hour and it's Easter, so I'm gonna I'll stop it here. We'll do the second part of Days of X-Men Past next week. I can't believe I spoke for an hour, but that's how great this is. It is a great cover. I got 8 people watching right now. Just have you guys read this comic before? Are you familiar with this comic? Do you own this comic? I'm talking about these two comics. And these two comics kind of like define the X-Men going forward. They constantly revisit the story. But I've been talking for an hour. I got to go to my sister's house, and I have to finish rake and leave. So I'm going to stop. I didn't expect to talk for an hour. I only spoke for an hour about 4 Hercules comics, but these are really important. So next Sunday, I will continue with X-Men Days of Future Past. I have the collection. So you have Jeff is an old school guy. I know he has this Bush Panda. You have the collection of this. This is phenomenal. This is a must-have in anybody's comic book collection. It's one of the most important comic books in comic book history, and I'm not even joking. I'm not exaggerating. But guys, it's Easter. I don't mean to finish now. To be continued. I'll build suspense. And first, 2 of the first back issues you bought in the mid '80s. Good choice. Good. These are 2 of the best comic books ever produced, and two of the most long lasting, influential comic books. And at the same time, it's like get over it, guys. Stop referencing it. Stop. These kind of threw anchors around X-Men. They can't get past these 2 issues. This is like the turning point of the X-Men, where it became we're mutants and everybody hates us. Before this, before Days of Future Past, there was adventure stories, there was space stories, there's bank robbery stories, and after this, it's been we're whiny mutants and everybody hates us. So as much as I love this is also ground zero of everything that's wrong with the X-Men. But I'll talk more about that next week. So I got to stop. I got to go outside, rake leaves before I go to my sister's house. So thanks a lot. Happy Easter, everybody. Next week I'll come back with part 2 of Days of Future Past. And thanks a lot for coming. This was a lot of fun. 8 people. Thank you a lot. Bye-bye.